arriving at the airport, we went to like the first thing we did was go to pick up our rail passes, right? They pipe in like bird sounds into the station, and then the station has like a little cute mascot, and it's like playing stuff, and there's like Hello Kitty stuff everywhere. And you go and pick up your passes, and in the pass waiting room there was like all these little pictures of cute dogs and stuff, and like someone's corgi was in there, and it was just
stuff
those
like
Sanrio characters are fucking everywhere. You go get some flipping sandwich for lunch, and you have to pick between like these cute ones and these cute ones. And it got overwhelming actually after a while. I was like, I'm absolutely sick of seeing fucking Hello Kitty on everything. I went into this one tea shop and it was like 9 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, oh, I want to get some of this and some of this and some of this, and I'll have some of this gyokuro that you have. And he said, no. What do you mean? He's like, no, it's too expensive for you. And I was like, okay.
Like, you know who I am.
Obviously, he was just like, thought I was some peasant gaijin. I run a successful Instagram where I talk about tea, and you're not going to sell it to me. I don't know whether it was a little bit of racism in action, or just he was protecting me from an embarrassing situation.
Where you're like...
Because I was like obviously a
tourist. And you're going to pay, and he's like, that's 400 million yen, please. And you're like, oh, my goodness, that's a lot of yen.
My good sir, I can't afford that many yen. We stayed in Japanese guest house, like a ryokan, right? And we had a kaiseki, just for fun. So anyway, we're sat wearing these robes, like yukata, and we're sat there on the floor, like at this really nice table in this really nice sort of bamboo place.
Did you have to wear the sandals and stuff?
Yeah, and it's just me and your the
dad.
person I'm with.
Your mom.
My dad. So we're like eating this stuff, okay? It's so disgusting. So we're on our own, but because the walls are so thin, you can kind of hear them outside, and you don't want to. So we're sort of whispering like, "Oh my god, what's this?" It's like you're eating like a potato shaped like a ball sack, and it's like cold and fucking disgusting. And then you're eating like the fishiest like olive tasting thing, and like obviously the person I'm with was like retching and like couldn't do it, and so I felt really bad. So I was like trying to help out and like finish their stuff as well.
That's no spring chicken either. Like, why did you fucking take him to that?
They referred to me as the human dustbin at one point.
God.
I was like, that is the least flattering thing I've ever been called in my life. But they didn't mean it like that. They meant it like thank you, you're saving me. You're my human dustbin. Like, if they'd come in and seen like, oh, didn't you like it? And we'd have to be like, oh, no, it wasn't very nice. And it was like course after course of this. And by the end of it, I'm like, I can't fucking take this anymore. And you finish off and it's a fucking cold bowl of noodles. And you're like, what the fuck? Japan. Where is that acceptable? What would the equivalent of that be in the UK? You've had like a Sunday dinner, okay, and you've had everything, you've had all the trimmings.
No, and then you're still hungry, and then they bring you out like a prepared Tesco sandwich.
Or not even that, just some Tesco white bread slices in a fucking bowl. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? There's no sauce, it's cold.
Oh,
it's like,
fuck.
Is it like something to look at? Do I rub my fucking fingers on it? I don't know. Anyway, we went into this arcade, and it used to be obviously okay to smoke in there, and it's all non-smoking now, but they absolutely stink of smoke and just filth and years of sweat and gross people spilling beer and
people just grinding away on these ball machines.
Yeah. Are you talking about my office
like,
or a pachinki parlor? Because I come into my little office quite often and I think, damn, P-Flax.
I was climbing up the Sega building, and obviously the first 3 stories are like these prize machines. They're basically very exclusive grabber machines, right? So the grabber machine is for this like limited edition figurine of an anime. And what you have to do is you have to lift up the box and drop the box. That's all the grabber machine does. And sometimes the box like drops at an odd angle, which drops it through the slot.
Yeah.
And most of the time, the box just falls again back where it was. And this one guy like had picked up and dropped his so he could see right up the skirt. I walked past and he was just stood there staring at this doll up the skirt of it. And I was like, what the fuck am I looking at?
You win a prize, you win a toy, and then literally around the corner in an alley is like a booth where you sell the toy for cash.
I ate a thing called honey toast.
Is that
and it's
honey
basically
on toast?
It's half a loaf of bread and then just put some ice cream on the top of that motherfucker.
Did you get ice cream all over your face when you tried to eat that?
I don't know why that was even a thing.
Just give me bread or give me ice cream. I don't need to have...
The place that
those worlds don't need to collide for me.
Why bread?
I don't know. It was awful. Like the place I had, it had a mascot. It's like anthropomorphized piece of bread.
Or a schoolgirl.
If the first thing that's memorable about Japan is the honey toast, the second thing that's memorable is the toilets. It's like sometimes you'll be at like one of the nicest touristy areas in the city, and you walk into the toilets and it's just a fucking hole in the ground. Do you know what I mean? With literally an Asian man with a hose pipe standing there, and you sort of go in there, and then after you finish, he goes in there with that hose pipe and like hoses you down. No, that's almost like what it feels like, right?
Yeah.
And then you go into a random fucking place, and they've got the most high-tech toilet you've ever fucking seen in your life. It was painted to look like an orca, and as it opened, it made like a squeaking noise, like an orca making a noise, almost like saying, "Piss in my mouth." Right? And I was
pleasure,
like,
little fella.
don't actually need a piss,
No.
so I guess I'm going to shit in your mouth.
Oh.
So I felt incredibly like uncomfortable taking a shit in the mouth of this like fucking orca whale, basically. After I'm done, I have to press the fucking the bidet button, right? It was unbelievably the oddest, most uncomfortable experience I've ever had in my life. I did enjoy that experience, but it profoundly affected me, and it was weird.
No, I
Or
think Japan's
they
one of
go
those
into a bar
unique
and-
countries where you're guaranteed to have some warm water sprayed up your ass at some point.
I was out one morning and went for a walk to this temple. So I was playing like Pokemon Go, basically, but with temples. And I got to one of them. One of them was like a bit weird. And I noticed that like everyone there was pushing either a pram or was a pregnant woman. And I realized that I'd walked into like a shrine of good baby health.
Oh,
There were like all these couples like buying things and chatting with other couples who had babies. It was really nice.
I only had sushi twice in the entire time I was there. Once was at the fish market. I had it for breakfast, which was super weird. And it was really amazing. You know, it changed my life, blah, 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 all this shit. The food was generally pretty fucking bad. We went to a Japanese tea ceremony. It feels like a little bit like an English tea ceremony. Like, you know, you go to a country house and you sit overlooking the gardens and maybe the little lake.
Yeah.
And you have your lovely pot of tea.
And the
you have
queen
your
is
china,
there, and like
and you have
Charles
your
has his
scone
fucking knee socks on and his
with
shorts
cream
and
on.
shit.
Yeah, exactly. And there's like some schoolboys there and saying, Mummy, could you pass the sugar, please? Tarquin, you've had enough sugar for today. It's
Mommy,
literally...
can you pass the crack pipe, please? Tarquin, we're out of crack.
Now go and shit in that orca's mouth, Tarquin.
Shinto is an interesting thing. They kind of believe that there are spirits everywhere, right? And you can kind of pray to those spirits. So like sometimes there's a shrine just to something beautiful, like a mountain or a waterfall. Some of them are more specific. Like I went to one of them that was like the god of football. And you can there's like an
God of football.
There's like an IT god as well. You could buy a charm that you can stick on your PC and it will protect it.
from
Stuff like
viruses.
this.
If you go to a restaurant in Japan, there's always like a display window with a shelf inside, okay?
Yeah.
And then plastic replicas of all the food you can order in that restaurant. It's meant to sort of let you visualize and make you hungry. And Japanese food is like it's very Japanese, I guess, right?
There were a couple of times when the things I ordered looked exactly like the plastic food, though. Like they that's the thing. Like taste is totally a secondary thing often.
One of the weirdest things I saw was a politician campaigning for election, and he was hanging out of a van with a loudspeaker on the top,
Right.
and he was sat on a cushion, and he was harnessed onto the side of the van,
Okay.
and he was waving at people with the loudspeaker, blaring. He obviously had earplugs in, and like I waved at him awkwardly, but then he stopped a junction right in front of me, and I was waiting for the light to change. So there was this period of like 30 seconds where he was stopped at the junction, awkwardly waving. I was the only person there.
The maid cafes.
Yes,
yeah.
did you go to one?
Yeah.
Are they delightfully plump and pleasant?
Unbelievably so.
Nice.
Yes. They're very.
Did you take
very,
pictures? Would they let you?
Well, that's the thing. You have to. It's like sitting down at a poker table. You have to pay to be there,
Right.
And then you have to pay for photos with the maids. They call you master.
Master?
You know.
I don't want that.
Yeah.
I do.
I went to the Golden Pavilion. Did you see my Instagram picture?
I did see a lot of them, but they were just mostly just selfies of you with either a cup of teas or in front of
That's
something.
my Instagram,
Yeah.
largely. Selfies of me drinking
I
different
wanted
kinds
to see
of tea.
pictures of like awesome Japanese things, but it's just pictures of Lewis.
I took this picture of the Golden Pavilion, and it genuinely was the one thing I saw in Japan that I went to
Blew your mind.
and went, wow, that
Yeah.
looks really cool. I didn't have high hopes for it either, particularly, because I'd seen like 20 shrines and temples at
Yeah.
that point. I felt like I was at the Eiffel Tower or something again, where, you know, all those tourists surrounding it. I sort of, you know, got in the queue with all the Chinese tourists and all the American tourists and all the Australian tourists and all the English tourists. There wasn't a single Japanese person in sight. You know?
The other big thing I did was a lot of walking around, right?
Okay.
I didn't really get any buses anywhere. I never got a taxi anywhere. I used the subway quite a lot, but I mostly just walked to a station, got on the subway, got out, walked around. It was nice. The weather was nice. Comparatively, like I was shorts and t-shirt, but I was the only guy wearing a fucking shorts and t-shirt. Didn't see any Japanese people ever wearing shorts.
Well, they're all too busy wearing like their
t-shirt.
panda onesies and Pikachu onesies.
No,
and stuff,
they were very homogenous in a sense. Like they dress very modestly, but also similarly. It's not good to stand out necessarily from the crowd.
No.
I wasn't necessarily someone who was weird and stared at because this tourist is so prevalent.
Did you
I was
run into any
unfamiliar.
Yogscast fans while you were there?
No, not
No.
one. I got a lot of tweets and stuff about people saying, "Oh yeah, I'm here. You know, I'm around the corner from that. Blah blah blah. I work here. Blah, blah. But I didn't ever bump into one.
I'm in an alley with a knife. I've got a gun.
Didn't go to an onsen, actually.
What's an onsen?
You clean yourself and then you go and like sit in a hot bath with other naked men. It's not really my thing, honestly. Looking at other Japanese men's dicks. Then I was walking down the street and there were these two old ladies in the street selling tea. And so I tried it and it was absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
And I was blown away by how disgusting it was, so I had to buy some.
You had to buy some.
I wanted to make an Instagram
It was
post.
so disgusting.
I wanted to make an Instagram post about
buy
it. And I
some.
felt like if I make an Instagram post on these, I'm going to have to buy it. To cut a long story short, I left my bag there by accident.
What was in it? The wood blocks?
Yeah.
Right.
I did like another bunch of temples. I spent about 2 hours. And then suddenly like my heart stopped and I was like,
Oh no.
oh my God, I've forgotten my bag somewhere. And so I backtracked the whole way. The last place I thought was those fucking old ladies. Because I was asking everyone, you know, bag forgotten? Do you know where I've forgotten my bag? Obviously, most people didn't even like fucking know what I was talking about. Anyway, finally get to these two old ladies. They're like, oh, do you want some tea? And I'm like, no, I had some tea
bought
earlier.
some tea, it's horrible.
I bought some tea. And they're like, oh, you want some more tea? And I'm like, no, did I leave my bag here? And they're like, oh, yes, bag is in the back. And I was like, what? And so they like got it out.
Oh,
And they gave me my bag back.
well, that's nice.
So I got the wood print bag. It's nice. I picked one that like reminded me of the time in Japan because most of them are like just cherry blossoms and fucking bullshit.
This
But
has got a picture of a guy drinking some really horrible tea and spitting it out.
It's just got a picture of fucking like loads of tourists.
Yeah.
Like taking pictures
All their
of something.
phones out.
Yeah.
On the very last day, we went to Akihabara,
The nerd zone of Tokyo.
It's like the everything bad about Japan district,
Yeah.
right? On that, I'm
They're
glad
literally buildings filled with like tentacle porn and stuff. Like
It is, and anime body pillows and gachapon with used underpants in them and all that shit. I saw all of that stuff. We went to this thing early on, which was like the robot restaurant.
Are
It's
the
like a
robots
show,
delightfully
almost.
plump and charming?
do they call you master? You have to pay to take a picture with them and stuff.
No, so the idea, it's like kind of like a show of the idea of what tourists think Japan is, right? So the only people there were tourists.
Yeah.
And it was basically a load of these massive, really cool laser light show robots, and they sort of drive them about and shout Japanese things and do sort of speak in bad English deliberately. And all the English tourists are there with their beers, and they're all like, hey, oh, lol, laugh at Japan.
So you felt right at home, and you just got involved, right? You ordered a sake, and you were like, oh.
All of these things that you said I would see were exactly there, Sips. It was like you prepared me completely for this trip. I kept coming back to these 4 words, right? It's all right, bit weird. Right. And that was pretty much Japan in a nutshell for me. Like,
Very interesting to hear about Japan. I've wanted to go for a long time, but now you've made me think twice. Thanks.